Good afternoon, everyone. Today we are in for a treat. We get a chance to sit back and listen in on a fireside chat with our keynote speaker. She is a powerhouse woman in this industry and someone I personally have looked up to for a long time. She is a champion of diversity and collaboration and works to produce captivating storytelling. Our keynote speaker is Victoria Alonso. Victoria Alonso is a native of Buenos Aires. She began her visual effects career as a production assistant and worked her way up to VFX producer. She worked on films such as Ridley Scott's Kingdom of Heaven, Tim Burton's Big Fish, and Andrew Adamson's Shrek. Since moving to Marvel Studios, she has co-produced or executive produced 22 films, the most recent ones being Captain Marvel, Avengers Endgame, and Spider-Man Far From Home. She is the recipient of numerous awards and honors, including being the first woman honored with the Harold Lloyd Award from the Advanced Imaging Society, and the first woman to receive the Visionary Award at the Visual Effects Society's VES Awards. Victoria Alonso has shared superheroes, imagination, and inspiration with people worldwide. We're excited to hear her share some of her behind-the-scenes inspiration and challenges with us today. Not a stranger to SIGGRAPH, she has been attending and contributing actively to this community for years. So it's nice to welcome her back in this very special role. It is my great honor to introduce our keynote speaker, the Executive Vice President of Production at Marvel Studios, Victoria Alonso. Joining Victoria in this fireside chat is our moderator, senior film writer for Variety, Matt Donnelly. But before we bring them up to the stage, let's see what Victoria has been up to with this special look at the Infinity Saga.
Let's track this from the beginning. We start with something pure. Something exciting. Then, deal with something new. Yeah. Told you. Okay so far? You like it? I'm feeling it. Yeah. Why stop there? This is it. This is the path I started us on.
Our very strength invites challenge. Challenge incites conflict. Conflict breeds catastrophe. The thing isn't beautiful because it lasts.
What a sweet-ass run it's been. Epic. Forces of darkness and light. What a world. Universe now.
Please join me in welcoming Victoria Alonso and Matt Donnelly.
Hello. everyone. How are you?
I'm good. Look at all you beautiful people.
You know, funny story, Victoria and I met because I was the body double for Fat Thor. No, I'm just kidding. I had the
nice people.
I had the privilege of profiling Victoria and some other of her colleagues at Marvel Studios earlier this year, and I can tell you that you guys are in for a transformative afternoon, so thanks for joining us. So since I last saw you...
You're so quiet, Matt.
Oh, please.
Right? Can you all hear Matt?
Should I project play to the back of the house?
Yeah, can you hear in the very back?
Good. Okay.
I can't see you.
Since I saw you last, a couple of things have gone down. Avengers Endgame is now the highest grossing box office film of all time. You want to give it up for that? My God. And
Wait. Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. That is the top grossing movie in the history of filmmaking, and you all went to see it. At least 20 times, so I am here to say thank you, thank you, thank you. I mean, I can just say 2.793 billion times. Thank you, thank you. Every format helps, so please support all the formats, because we're keen on all the formats.
Yes, home videos today, right? The DVD
home
today.
video is I Love You 3000. I Love You 3000 coming to you very soon.
Have you sort of had a chance to process what this opening has been and what it means for the future and for you personally?
Listen, I mean, just making these movies was, I can't, can you guys see from over there? I have, oh, I see, you can see me. All right, just checking. No, it's hard. It's hard because, you know, you do the work and you hope that people go to see it, and then when it becomes the top grossing, breaking every record. And, you know, when Avengers Infinity War opened, we read all the records that we broke. And then when Endgame came about, we broke just about every record in the history. And we started breaking records on Friday. And I couldn't get through reading it. I was reading it to my wife, and I couldn't get through reading it without crying. So I was like, we broke this record. No, we broke this record. No. By Saturday, it was like, and we broke this record. No, we broke this. By Sunday, I was, and we broke this. Like, the tears kept flowing, and I was like, and we broke this record. And I was just numb.
Yeah.
Because it was like there's no place to put it. Because you've never been there. Probably I'll never be there again. So there's no place to go to put it, except for achieving perhaps the biggest dream that anyone could achieve, in the sense that not because of the money, which I'm sure that made Disney very happy, but because I truly believe it's a good movie. So. Yeah.
I would say now that you've achieved this, you go to Disney World, but your offices are sort of there anyway. I want to talk about so much that you have coming up. You know, this is only really the beginning, if you think about it, and also you're bridging to straight to service with Disney Plus, and the MCU has got such incredible volume and quality and a whole new generation of stars. But talk to me a little bit about, if you can, and the good people here, about how this journey really began for you specifically with Marvel Studios. And
I mean, I've said this a few times, so I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself for anyone that has heard it. But I had been doing a lot of movies outside of the United States. I had traveled extensively to Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Morocco, Europe. And I wanted to do a movie that would keep me here. And I had bought a house, and I had no idea what it was like to have a sunset in my house, because I was never there. So I decided that I was only going to do movies in Los Angeles. And Sony came calling, and I had done a couple of movies with them, and then I met a line producer who became my dearest friend, Lou Diaz-Posito, and he was doing a movie called, at the time it was called Tonight He Comes, but then it was changed to Hancock. Mm-hmm. So he hired me as the visual effects producer, and John Nelson was the visual effects supervisor. And that movie went into turnaround. And when that movie went away, he said, I am going to go do something else. And I said, well, where does it shoot? Because I'm staying in LA. And if I stay in, as long as it shoots in LA, he goes, it shoots in LA. And I didn't even ask what the movie was. I said, it shoots in LA. And so he says, come, okay, I'll do it. Come to the office on Monday. So on Monday morning, I go into the elevator in the Beverly Hills offices, and there's this guy that looks remotely familiar to me. And, hey, Jen, remotely familiar to me. And I'm like, I think I know you, but I don't know you. But he goes, are you going to the second floor? I'm like, yes. Are you going to see Lou? Yes. And I'm thinking, how does he know? Right? On the bottom of the Beverly Hills building, it was the Mercedes-Benz dealership. And on the, where we were going was the old Playboy offices. And I had some idea that maybe he had a job there or something. I don't know. Yeah. So I get there, and I go to see Lou, and this guy goes to the other side, and then Lou says, do you want to go meet the director? And I said, yeah, that would be nice. And so we walk in, and there's Jon Favreau, and he says, I knew you were coming to see Lou. And I'm like, yeah, and you are? He's like, I'm the director. I'm like, oh, nice to meet you. And that was the beginning.
I can see how you'd think Favreau has a job at Playboy.
No, don't let that.
Much
but
different career now.
But I didn't know that was the movie, though.
Yeah.
I had no idea the movie was Iron Man.
I think one of the most extraordinary things about what you specifically and your team have done at Marvel, and I think that this crowd would really appreciate hearing a bit more about, is how you sort of removed individual ownership and squabbling over basically everything you're creating, and in your role as production VP, have streamlined and sort of given everyone a voice in how you make everything from a Captain Marvel costume to this guy right here, and sort of give everyone one central place to come and tell the story, but also in a practical way to make assets once, design your costume once, send it around and use it for every single stop in production. So if you can talk about why you thought that was dysfunctional or didn't quite work in a different way and what you did to change it.
Well, you know, filmmaking is such a team effort, and one of the things that happens sometimes when you have teams is they need to have a common goal, but they also have some enemy of sorts. And if you worked in the film industry, usually the enemy is the studio. Yeah. For whatever reason, I don't know why, but that's just how it works. Well, with us, we are the studio. Mm-hmm. We're the studio and we're the producer, so we can't be the enemy. We have to work together. So the idea of collaborating and making it work once is something that has worked for us. Right. And when we started putting things together, we don't want every department to have to redo something, because there is a lot that gets lost in translation from one thing to another. So if we're going to create a shield, we're going to try and create it once. We're going to create it in design. We're going to create it in previs. We're going to create it for the people that will do the molding, for the prop. Mm-hmm. But we want to do it once, so this way that we maximize everything that we have to do and utilize any other savings that you get from maximizing that and making sure that the movie, that your imagery that we create gets the best of your money instead of spending it 5, 6, 7 times. I think it's really important.
Sure. And would you agree that with the sort of intellectual property you work with and the people that love it, it's important to get stuff right?
Listen, you guys are all very smart out there, because if we don't get it right, you tell us. And we listen. And you watch every move we make, and we're very clear that you're watching, and you're very vocal. And I think it's important, because if you don't get it right, you disappoint. Yeah. And one of the things that we don't want to do with these iconic characters is they've been with you for a long time. Sometimes they've been with you all your life. And the last thing we want to do is to mess it up.
Sure.
So we tend to love it as much as you do, if not more, and we definitely take as much care as we can. We don't get it right all the time, and that's why you guys come in and you tell us how we messed it up, and we appreciate it.
Have you ever had someone come up to you at like the Whole Foods and say this?
I'll tell you a story. I was at sushi dinner. And this guy, I never wear any of our paraphernalia because of this. And for some reason, I ran out of the house and I put on my Avengers Infinity War sweatshirt. We were just going to dinner. It was like really quick, just to the sushi place the place that we went to the other day. And so you go there, you have to take your shoes off, and you go there, and we're waiting for the table, and this guy goes, so this thing with Thanos. And I'm like, yeah? We need to talk about it. I'm like, okay. Well, what'd you do in the movie, by the way? I'm like, I didn't work on the movie. A friend of mine gave me the sweatshirt. And my daughter says, no, my mama made the movie.
Oh, my God.
I'm like, love, we didn't. It's just, and he's like, we need to talk about Thanos because what he did is right. And I'm thinking, oh, my God, I want to leave now. And then Olivia's like, well, but you got to tell him. No, I don't have to tell him anything. I don't want to say anything. I want to go to eat. I don't want to be quiet, and I'm going to take it off. And we're not going to have this moment. But thus, I usually give away my hat and my sweatshirts. I don't want to have this. But my wife, I'll tell you another story. I usually have it, one for my little one and one for me, and they share one because they're both small. And she was at Home Depot, and all of a sudden, there's 3 guys, and they're like, right there. And she thought, oh my God, this is not a good moment. This is not. We are in the toilet aisle. And here's these 3 plumbers on top of her, and they're like, and she's like, can I help you? Where'd you get that? She's like, the toilet? And they're like, no, where did you get the sweatshirt? Oh, no, a friend of mine gave it to me. I didn't work on the movie. I have nothing to do with the movie. And they watched her as she paid at Home Depot. It was insane.
I have to get you some security to travel around LA with now. So as someone who...
I appreciate the fandom. I really do appreciate it. It's a little scary sometimes, but it's all good.
As someone who, obviously, prolific producer and filmmaker, even before you entered this world, now that you're so entrenched in it, do you have any sort of like special corners that are your favorites that you are absolutely in love with in terms of the source material, in terms of the comics?
No, I'm not a comic book fan. I know that's sacrilege to say, and I apologize to those of you who are. I am more, I'm the audience that you have to gain every time.
Yeah.
I'm not the one that will go see it because I love it, or I read it as a child, or this meant something to me way back when. I always say that the comics that I grew up with were Mafalda and Paturcito, which were very different comics, but I didn't have access to these guys. So I'm the one that says, I'm bored, I'm going to the bathroom, somebody keep me on my seat. And I say that all the time because the fans will wait for something to happen where I won't. If I'm not interested, I'm out. So, and we're pretty hard with each other in the room, which is difficult if you haven't worked with us because you have to have very thick skin. But it works for us. I know. There's a few people that have worked with us before. We can be pretty, the truth is very harsh. And when you worked so long to achieve that and it doesn't work, it's very painful.
Yeah. Do you, I mean, I think that's the numbers back me up here. The performance of Marvel Studios is just, especially financially, is just incredible. How do you guys sort of manage pressure?
Well, it's hard when you consistently have averaged $960 million per movie. I say that with the utmost respect of the math of what that means. Like the last 3 movies that we made this year have all gone over $1 billion. And one just happens to be the biggest movie of all time. I just thought I'd say that again because it's not real to me, so let me have that moment. Thank you. Listen, we have our own internal pressures to want to make the best movie ever.
Yeah.
So the way we look at it and why I think it still works is the next movie we're making, which is Black Widow, by the way, coming up in May next year. I hope you all go see it.
Looks phenomenal.
Yes, right? We've been waiting for it for 10 years. God bless. the next movie we're doing, that should be the best movie that we make.
Yeah.
And if we don't make a good movie, then it's on us, because it should be on us, and you will be hard enough, I know. But the pressure internally is far more than what the media gives us or the fans give us.
I would never.
No, you will. The media does it. It's your job. Yeah. But we try, listen, we try to do things that are not the same, things that are a little different. We try to do something where you take a risk. We try to give you a little more of what you love, because it's hard to disappoint you. If we don't have your favorite characters, you get upset with us. So we try to give you that. But we can't do the same all the time. Yeah. The cookie cutter of it all, we try not to.
Absolutely. Do you remember you told me you, Mr. Faggy, and Lou fight about one thing?
We fight about one thing, what, yeah. Pizza?
Pizza.
Yeah.
Do you want to make your case here now?
Listen, I have this theory, right? I mean, back me up. I don't know what you think about it. But in my opinion, the only pizza that travels really well long distances is Domino's Pizza. And, you know, don't get fancy. Just because you make a lot of money, you can't get fancy. So I say, bring me Domino's Pizza. That's just how it works. And we've been buying Domino's Pizza for 14 years, and every friends and family, that's what we do. And Lou gets a little fancy, and he has some other pizza that is always cold, always. So now he brings a little oven that he puts it in there, and I'm like, no, that's reheated. That doesn't work. Donuts and pizza should be a certain type, and that's just my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, I'll make a natural transition from pizza to diversity and inclusion. But I do want to say...
I'm sure there is one.
Absolutely.
Please do
it's
tell,
great
Matt.
commonality. I know that you probably get this a lot because, you know, Hollywood, not unlike what we celebrate here at SIGGRAPH, is a business.
Yes.
And these businesses are institutions that have followed patterns for a long time. And I think especially in Hollywood and hopefully everywhere, there is a greater call for more representation of all kinds of people at every level of decision making. And for you, you are easily one of the most visible women, and I don't want to call you an executive because you're a filmmaker, but you do have an executive title.
You can call me anything, it doesn't matter.
An executive, yes. And you're someone who is at a lever of decision to hire,
yep.
To speak at stuff like this and be a visible face of a company, and a very successful one. So I know you're a unicorn and you represent like several, you know, an intersectional identity. But I wonder if you think, where are we at now in terms of this business and all your intersecting businesses, and where do we have to go next?
Well, I would say, you know, I've been coming to SIGGRAPH for 24 years. My first SIGGRAPH was 1995. And could the women just raise their hand, please? Can I just see the women here? This is a lot better.
Yeah.
This is a lot better. When I first came to SIGGRAPH, I think I was one of, I don't know, a dozen. I mean, Amy Jupiter's here, so I know Amy was coming. There you go, Amy. And who's that? There you are. I see you. I see you. I see you. We've come a long way, and it feels like it's the slowest race to ever be a part of, and we have not won it.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that diversity is only in the male-female, right?
Sure.
I think you start there just because is the easier balance to find. I think that it's important that the conversation is there,
yeah.
and the conversation is present, the conversation is global, and is consistent. The excuses that we create are the things that I would love to just completely argue in any room at any time. I think that we say, well, women don't want to do this, or people of color don't want to do this, or there's not enough people in this list that are Latin, and I can go on and on and on and tell you the kind of excuses that people have created for themselves not to go in search of. And let me tell you, when you search, you will find. You will find. We hire, I mean, one of the things that I have done over the years is we hire on potential. as well as we hire on your experience. But very often, we hire on the potential of who you are. And very often, we hire the right people on that potential, and they bloom, and they become some of the greatest, greatest, greatest people that anyone could ever have. And you know who you are, because I'm looking at you. So, when you take that risk, it is the most beautiful thing that you can do. So what I say to those of you that are out there that are in a position of hiring or in a position of having the conversation, if a person doesn't have it on a resume, it doesn't necessarily mean that they cannot do it. It means they haven't had a chance. I remember when I was I was trying to switch from producing commercials to producing movies, and I was told, you can't do that. And I was like, wait, hang on. Producing is producing is producing. It's just a format. No, it's movies. I'm like, it's a format. It's a short-term format to a long, I mean, like, the short form to long form, it's a format. Nope. So I swore that I would never do that, and I have lived by it, and I can tell you, you do take a risk, no doubt about it, because people that you hire on potential, sometimes along the way, they doubt themselves, and they try to fire themselves from a job that they deserve. So you have to mentor them and usher them and remind them of all the good that they will be doing as soon as they believe it themselves. But it's important that you believe it. My thing is, don't fire yourself until the job is done. Just do it.
Yeah. I would make the same argument that I think the content, Marvel content, is increasingly more diverse and representative. I think, did you guys happen to catch the Phase 4 announcement out of Comic-Con? Anybody see any of that? Yeah? Okay. Tons of stuff coming that looks incredibly, I think some of it's a bit later on the back end, but Mr. Feige said Captain Marvel 2, Black Panther 2. Shang-Chi is incredibly exciting. It's the first sort of Asian superhero thing you're taking a stab at. Black Widow, I think, is also, the prospect of that is incredibly exciting. When you're in development, are those things up on a board somewhere like this is what we have to get through, or how are you sort of mitigating that process?
There's a lot of things on that board.
I hear that someone has to fold it up and take it home at night.
It's one of those things that everyone would like to share, but we can't until we do. But don't you agree that it's good for us to wait and show it to you in a very specific format and time so that you can see the gift with all the perfect wrapping and the bow? Like, it would be unfair if we give you the gift and it's not wrapped. That always feels like it's something that somebody didn't have enough time because they didn't care enough, or they're too familiar. We'll go, oh, I got you a gift, right? We want to give you the show, and that's what Comic-Con for us, which has been, one of the places that we love to make these announcements because they've been with us from the very beginning.
Sure.
I think we have a lot of very different things coming up, and a lot of ideas and stories that will weave themselves from Disney Plus to the films.
Yeah.
And I think that it will be so exciting to have anywhere between 6 to 8 hours of content where we can dive in and tell you a lot about those characters that perhaps in our movies, unless they are having the origin story, we haven't been able to tell you.
Right.
So we will be telling you in depth a lot of things. And of course, having characters like Loki that have died. Did I screw it up for someone? No. You did go see the movie, right?
You haven't seen that by now. Come on.
I'm sorry. I apologize. But listen, does everyone, in our world, dying is just a state of mind.
That's a very convenient and lovely narrative device,
thank you
too.
very much.
But also specifically back to just even just how the entire slate looks. You've got like 2 incredibly strong women at the head of Eternals in Salma Hayek and Angelina Jolie. You guys brought Mahershala Ali back for Blade. That's incredible.
Did you guys like that?
Did you
Was
see
that a good idea?
No? Yeah.
Yeah, listen, we have The thing about Marvel is that we have 6,000 characters in our library. So my children, your children's children, there'll be children forever telling these stories. And we'll never tell all the stories that we have because as we tell these stories in comics, we create new stories. So there's so many stories to tell. And we only announced 2 years, right? We announced 2020 and 2021.
Right.
There's so much more. There's so much more. Yeah, I wish I could tell you all of it today.
That's not what we're doing here?
No,
Okay.
we're not. We're not going to say no.
But speaking of, well, to what your earlier point about just platform, whether it being a commercial producer or a film producer, I did not fully realize the scope of how important Disney Plus would become to the MCU until I saw it up there in one place. And you've got 4 straight-to-service series like WandaVision and Loki, Winter Soldier and Cap, and Winter Soldier and
Falcon.
Falcon, yes. And I wonder, like, how can you possibly take that on, and how does that affect your production pipeline?
I don't know. I think we're just going to do it. I think, like everything we've done, there have been years where we make 1 movie, and there's been years where we did 4 movies.
Yeah.
And it's not the same. I can tell you that. It's like having kids, right? To have 1 kid is difficult. To have 4 kids, it's a journey. Right? Are there any parents here? Yes? You know what I'm talking about. Yes? God bless you. It's not easy, but you do it. And the idea of having the stories all weave into each, I mean, like that, to me, that is so interesting because it's not something that has been done before and something that we can actually give our fans because some of you like Cap more than Iron Man, some of you like Thor more like Wanda, some of you like Black Widow more than Captain Marvel. I mean, like, it's okay that you don't have to love all of them, right? But we all love Baby Groot, right? Baby Groot is it. That's my baby. But this is a chance for us to tell you all of those different layers that maybe we give you this and this in the movie. And then there's a whole lot in between that we didn't talk about. So we're gonna dive in. Production-wise, we'll see how we do it.
Yeah.
We're just gonna try it out 1 year, and then maybe I'll come in a couple of years and tell you we were out of our minds, and I'm in Tahiti because I quit. I'm in Bora Bora. I'll send you a postcard.
How are you guys sort of balancing? I think we talked about your days are sort of carved up in like development in the morning, power naps, and then post-production.
I don't know. There's no power naps for sure. I can tell you that. At different times we switch. I mean, sometimes Luke, Kevin, and I are traveling to different places. Right. So it depends on how we do it. We are not good at taking time off. That's the one thing that we're trying to get better at. Like I'm on my vacation today. So I can tell you we're not good at it. We're just not good at it. But we do have, whether it's a visual development or a previs session, or we have a casting session, or we have a full-on story development, or we have a slate meeting, or we have an event meeting, whether it's what's coming up, or whether it's D23 or Comic-Con, or, we were delighted that last year we had to have meetings about having an award season, which is something that is very new to us. But Black Panther was nominated for Best Picture, and we thought that was really cool.
It's amazing.
It was.
I wonder, is there anything that sticks out to you that was something that was so challenging, or like such a house on fire that you've changed, like you've learned so much from? Is there and whether that be like, CG won't render this way, or this is a production problem, is there one like real test that you have come through the other side of and become a better filmmaker because of it?
I think every day is that way. I don't think there's one day that goes by that I go, oof, that was an easy day. I could have called it. I could have just been at the beach and having a martini and it's all good. Every day is hard, but I think that the scheduling of Infinity War and Endgame with all those 44 incredibly successful actors was an insanity. because you just take one of those actors or two and trying to make their timeline work and our timeline work, it would be difficult. And then you have 44 of them, and then you have everything else that has to be built with them, around them. And also that, you know, it's not the same to tell a story of 2 hours than to tell a story that is 3 hours. And it's not just a little more work. It is to sustain your capacity for wanting more is difficult in 20 minutes, 40, 60, 80. By then I lost you. 100, maybe I have you because you went to the bathroom. 120, okay, you came back, but you got hungry. I mean, like, I tell you, we think about these things when we're making these movies. So to have 2 movies back to back that were, one was almost 3 hours and the other one was 3 hours, that was something that is it's incredibly difficult to want to do it. And you know, of course, we watch these movies 100 times. By the time you see it, I can recite every line, just about, and every sound cue, every score moment. I mean, all of it. To be able to stay with it and feel throughout, that is the hard thing. That is a difficult. But every movie has a different balance and a different barrier or obstacle, if you would. Sometimes it's like there's a lot of hurdles, and sometimes there's just you have a long run and then there's one hurdle. But Infinity War and Endgame was hurdle. There wasn't even a run. You couldn't even, you know, it was an insanity.
Especially with its reliance on you and your team. Didn't you? I think you told me there were only 3 frames of Infinity War that your department didn't touch with graphics or CG or anything.
I don't think there was any. Was there, Jen? I don't think there was. I think when we talked, it was 3 frames that we didn't talk, and then I think we changed that too
for
the
3
home
frames?
video. We keep on plussing. You see, just because the movie's out in the world, that doesn't mean the movie stopped. And you know, you know, if I can have more time, we will always make it better. We will always try to do that one thing that we couldn't do. And the beautiful thing about formats is that it gives you that moment, right? You have your 2D movie, you have your 2D HDR, then you have your 3D movie, then you have your 3D IMAX, your 2D IMAX, your 3D HDR IMAX, then you have your 4D experience, then you have your, now I'm missing one, but you have them all, and we work on all of them all the time. ScreenX, we did that too. For the people that don't know what a ScreenX is, you should go check it out, where the movie plays on this side while it's playing on that side, and don't eat before you go see it. I don't recommend it. But we love all the formats. And then when we go to home video, then we get a chance to go, remember those 3 shots? Remember that light? Remember that thing? Remember that one? And we go in and we fix it.
Wow.
We make it better.
So you have a lot of free time, is what you're saying.
You have nothing to do.
Exactly. So obviously you're here now on this stage, but I'm curious, who were your mentors, and what do you think are some of the takeaways that you sort of walk with in life every day?
You know, I didn't look at life as I wanted or needed a mentor, which is I know it's a weird thing to say, but that's just who I am. My mom is a really strong woman, and she's a pretty fabulous lady. And she always said, if it has been done, you can. And if it hasn't been done, you must. So that's what I grew up with. So when you have that as a platform, the sky's the limit, right? Because she just told me right there, go do it. Go do it. Whatever it is you want to go do it. I did look up to Kathy Kennedy in the posters in Argentina. I kept looking at a woman that had a name on the poster, and the movies that we had access to had her name. So to me, that was an important thing, and I am honored to say that she's my friend now, and it's a pretty weird thing to have that person be your friend, because the first time that I went to lunch with her, and she will hate me for telling this, so please don't print it. But the first time that I went to lunch with her, I have a scooter at the office, right? And I run around in my scooter with my little bell and LED lights and all kinds of things. And I went around everyone telling them, I'm having lunch with Kathy! I'm having lunch with Kathy Kennedy! I'm having lunch! And people are like, okay, we got it. But it was a big deal to me that she was having lunch with me. So I gushed for about 30 minutes, which embarrassed her. And then I went on to tell her all the things that I thought were wrong with a couple of companies that she represents.
By the way, we photographed Victoria on that scooter. I encourage you to go to variety.com and look it up. It's great.
Yeah, it's true. I use it all the time. I don't use it with these shoes, though. I think I had different shoes, but they were high heels for the photo shoot. That was a total for the. Just in all honesty, I don't wear these. I only wear these for you, just so you know. I don't ever wear these at the office. They hurt.
Did Kathy give you any advice at that lunch that you took to heart?
I don't remember that she gave me, like, I have to be honest with you, I kept pinching myself the whole lunch because she's such a, for me, it was such a, I had met her before and she didn't remember, which broke my heart, but I got over it.
Do you find that there are a lot of women in your pool that you sort of, like, relate to and commiserate with? Or so, no.
I think that there's one thing, I miss having your posse of people that they don't want anything from you. You know, the people that you grew up with through work and that they're there with you, for you. I think that one of the things that happens when you get in the higher ranks of your career is it becomes a little lonely.
Yeah.
And I mean, don't pity me, please, because I'm not saying this for that, but I think it's the reality of there's not many of us, and very few that are there. You feel like you can share certain things because everything affects everybody that are in those ranks. So you tend to gravitate towards the people that have either known you your entire life or people that are not in the industry. So that's the one thing that I would say in the last 4 or 5 years has become a big reality that is very different, where there are phenomenal women that you can have conversations about, but if they're in the industry, everything you say is something that affects somebody.
Of course. Well, I mean, Hollywood's not known for being a place where people want something from you. So that's the really good news and the good takeaway of today. But do you want to make some new friends real quick? Should we make some new friends? Okay.
Nothing, people.
I mean, I think we have time for some questions if anybody has any.
What?
There are microphones. Any brave souls want to talk to Miss Alonso?
No questions.
No questions?
I refuse. This is
come on.
This is where I get to sing.
She does have a bit of a singing outburst.
I do.
Yes.
I have a little bit of singing Tourette's. So anytime now, I'm gonna be.
Yes, I think there are mics
asking.
at the middle of the room.
No.
No.
No, I don't have to ask a question.
Oh wait, here we go.
Oh no.
Yes.
I'd ask a question. So you said your criteria was staying in LA. Come on, there must have been some other criteria. What alternate universe would you have been doing if you didn't end up at Marvel? What were you thinking of?
What would I be doing in a different
Instead.
world? Is that the question? It's hard to hear with the
Yes,
audio.
I'm so
What
sorry.
other ideas did you have or ambitions that were like parallel universes that you would have done?
For parallel universes, I think, what ideas and ambitions do you have for parallel universes in Marvel? Is that the question?
Yeah, if you hadn't ended up at Marvel, where would
If I
Oh,
wasn't
yes.
there, I would definitely.
So in the
will
Alonso
be-
cinematic universe, where would you wind up?
If I was not at Marvel Studios, I would be telling stories, I think, but I very much could be taking care of an animal rescue place.
Oh.
I mean, I rescue dogs, and I've rescued 13 Dalmatians in the last 20-some years. And I probably will have a big property where all I do is feed them, bathe them, and save them. So, because if I could have more than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dogs at a time, I would. So that's what I would be doing.
And you have 2 Dalmatians now, right?
Yes, we have 2.
Is that like where you zen out, walking and bathing the dog?
They're the best unless they're barking like Ella was doing today all day. I was done barking. She was annoying today. You know, they're the best.
I think we have someone back left. Hi.
Hi. I really like what you said about hiring for potential and not, you know, the experience and maybe skills someone has at that given moment. So I was wondering if you can speak more to what are the specific qualities you look for that highlight potential and what speaks potential to you?
That's a very good question. It depends on the job, right? But as long as you have initiative, you have honesty, you want it more than anything else, you want it, and you're smart, you can probably do it. This is not brain surgery. Let me tell you, it isn't. And people might tell you it is because they need to sort of make up their reality a little bigger of a bubble, but it isn't. I'm no different than any of you. I can assure you of that. In fact, some of you are way better than I am. It just so happens that I'm doing it. But if you believe in it and you want it, you have to want it. Filmmaking is something that will take over your life. It will take it over, and it will define it. So you have to remember, why do you want it? And that you do want it. And when you're in it, I mean, I have made a whole career out of filling the gap. And I've a couple of times spoken about the filling the gap effect of doing the things that people didn't want to do, that I did it without ego and without resistance. It was not what in the job description it was written, but I did it. And that has allowed me to go into this door and that door and this door and that door. And all of a sudden, I mean, they let me do it on my potential, but not because I had the experience of it. I mean, I didn't know how to run a studio. I didn't want it either, and I did it, and here we are. So potential, to me, has a lot of different colors, but I think that if you're smart, and you're there, and you're willing, and respectful, and you have a great attitude, we're probably going to work with each other.
That's encouraging. Yes. Yeah. Right. Yes, in the red T-shirt.
Yeah, my name is Kevin with Digital LA. You mentioned diversity and inclusion and how that has been really important. And in Phase 4 announcements at Comic-Con, with all the new shows, there's a very diverse cast. Can you comment on diversity and inclusion in other places in film? For example, the partners that you work with, or your visual effects teams, or your fellow executives. How do you ensure and increase inclusivity and diversity and inclusion in those areas too?
Is your question that if I apply the diversity and inclusion to every team, whether it's on and off the screen? Is that what you just said?
Well, how do you increase
How do I go at it? As simple as this. I look around and I go, there's too many men. I look around and I go, oh, there's 50-50. I look around and I go, there's a whole lot of white people. That's how you do it. I mean, I am pretty vocal about it, and I think everyone that works with me takes that into account when we go at it. When we look at the teams and I look at who they're going to hire, I'm like, well, there's no balance here. Mm-hmm. There is no balance here. Mm-hmm. So I understand that's the best person for the team, and we will hire those people. But somewhere along the way, in your list, you have to find balance. We do that for everything, for every single department. I'm not saying that we succeed every time. I'm not. There's a lot of work we have to do, and I take it on every day, in every meeting, every single time.
Awesome. Thank you.
Amen. And to your earlier point, too, I think a lot of what the job of doing that is sort of like a dust-busting unconscious bias. I think when Ryan Coogler hired Rachel Morrison to be his DP on Black Panther, she said in an interview that the number one excuse of why people don't hire women as cinematographers is because the camera's too heavy, which is just total nonsense.
Well, I think if people say the camera is too heavy, you have not shot anything in a long time. So, I mean, to me, those are myths that I just go like, whatever.
Yeah.
Just give me the camera and bring the camera to the meeting. I mean, it's really, you have to break down the myth. If your myth is that the camera is too heavy and you want to hire so-and-so, you just bring the camera and you go, you see, the camera is not that heavy. There you go. Not that heavy. Everyone can do it. I can do it with one hand. And the fact that you would assume that women are not as strong as men, that is probably a really bad thing to do.
Absolutely. Not me. You, sir.
Saludos de Puerto Rico.
Muy buenos días, caballero.
Muchas gracias. I have a question, actually a comment. You've been coming to this conference since the mid-90s. Could you tell us what does SIGGRAPH mean to you?
What does it mean to me?
Yeah.
I tell you what it means to me. First of all, I love you people. I love you. I love nerds. I'm a nerd at heart. And you people are the best people. Because two things. There's harmony. You guys don't fight. That's a beautiful thing. And the one thing that you would learn from a nerd is that you want to share information. And the one thing that happened to me when I took a job at Digital Domain that I knew nothing about is I sat down with 2 or 3 or 4 nerds at the end of the day. I will say, will you teach me? And they're like, yes. Let me show you how we render. Let me show you this script. Let me show you what Maya does. Let me show you how we can composite these 17 layers in the flame. Have you heard about the flame? It's new. It's expensive, but it's new. And have you heard about the Inferno? No, I haven't. What's the Inferno? You guys love to share data. And for someone like me, which is like a sponge, if I didn't have you, I wouldn't have become me. Like, I owe so much to people like you all the time. This is why I continue coming to SIGGRAPH, to give it back. Because it's people like you that allow me to have, I mean, it was my curiosity, first and foremost. But if you guys didn't teach me, I didn't go to school to do this. I didn't. I'm sure all of you went to school. I didn't. I didn't go to film school. So SIGGRAPH for me is a place, I mean, think about it. I've been coming here 24 years. It's a long time to have this relationship. It's the longest one I've had. And we're still getting along okay. I mean, about 3,000 of you came over, so I think we're doing okay.
You guys are going to make it.
But I am forever grateful to SIGGRAPH and to the people and to generation after generation that shows up and to the ideas that you all bring over here. Some of them are phenomenal and some of them are cray-cray, caca-me-me, wackadoodle. And I want to see them. I want to see all of them because there's something in all those ideas for everyone. And I get great joy out of being around people that are technically far, far, far more intelligent than I am, but also as generous of sharing as I want to be with people from my experience. So for that, I thank you.
Thank you.
That's very
Bless you.
sweet. Speaking of nerds sharing data, you're going to give us release dates for Fantastic Four and Mutants, right?
I will definitely do that.
Thank you so much.
Yes, we would do
There's
that.
someone over there? Here, go ahead.
I have a question. It's a Marvel character question.
Marvel character question.
Nobody can hear you, my love, but.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I'm short.
That's listen, you're beautiful.
Thank you. I have a Marvel character question. It was about Professor Hulk. And my question was, what was the reason for combining the two? Was it to bring the audience to a softer place in Marvel, or?
What was the reason to combine?
I think, did you say Professor Hulk?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Smart Hulk?
Yes, Smart Hulk, yeah.
Well, I think it was sort of the logical place for him to go to, because there's only so much you can do with a whole lot of strength and not be the same over and over and over. The Hulk is always going to smash. It's part of who he is. But we had been talking about having Smart Hulk for a long time, and we thought that this was the very best way to tell that story. Did you like it? You didn't like it?
I was indifferent because I loved him smashing.
Yes.
But I do like seeing that he's using his intelligence too.
I understand. We got to work harder. Yeah. We got to work harder to get you there. So indifferent is not where I want you to be. So I'm going to take it to heart and work harder. But the whole idea was to show a different side to him so that we could have his evolution. As every character, we want them to evolve. And we thought that the idea of bringing him into the Smart Hulk world, which a lot of people had been asking for a long time. So, it's like you win some, you lose some, right? I mean, you can't make every... But I want you to know that the next time we do it, we're going to work harder just because you told me that, and I won't forget it.
Also, now you get to design him little clothes, like little muscle T-shirts and glasses and stuff. So he's only ever worn one thing, and now he's got a full wardrobe. What a wonderful way to expand this world.
It's all about fashion.
Yes, that's what we learned today, that Marvel's really about fashion. You, sir.
Hi there. Thanks so much for being here. Love the movies. Love Smart Hulk. I really related to your comment about wanting to stay in Los Angeles and do the work that that we love. And one change that's happened since SIGGRAPH of the mid-90s is that actually a lot of the visual effects industry in Los Angeles has spread throughout the world due to globalization, increased talent pools, foreign tax credits and such. And actually the Los Angeles visual effects industry has, to some extent, suffered from that, and a lot of visual effects professionals have had to move out of Los Angeles to continue to do the kind of work that they love. And I was wondering, is there anything that Marvel in particular is trying to do in order to support and rejuvenate the Los Angeles visual effects industry, or if you had any thoughts for ways to make LA visual effects as strong as it can be?
Oh.
I clearly have strong feelings about working in LA. And I have very strong feelings about awarding work to people that are and live in LA. And dividing families is a very difficult thing. And because I have been far away from my very own for a long time, I know how hard it is. Every company that we have been, we work with anywhere between 40 to 50 visual effects companies globally. If you're in LA, we have worked with you, and we have consistently worked with you. A lot of companies are leaving, though, because it's not just Marvel. Every other studio wants to be after the tax incentive, and unfortunately, you can't get that here, which I wish we could.
Right.
I really do. I wish we could do all the work here, and I wish we could have face-to-face with every vendor instead of having to have it on a video call. The reality of it is that the companies are either very small here, or the subsidiaries that they have elsewhere are the ones doing the work. Mm-hmm. So I am open to hearing any ideas that you have on how to keep the work in LA. And sometimes the math doesn't jive. And even though I have been quite vocal about the tax incentive, if the work is, somebody got a call, please answer.
That was not me.
The what?
No, it's not me.
Not you. The tax incentive is a very a real thing. Because sometimes when you award $30 million and you get 40% on that, or you get 30% of that, you get 25% of that, that's a big chunk of money, especially in our world where our budgets are quite big. So I would love to keep as much work as we can in LA all the time. And I have been quite committed to having those companies have work for as long as we can, if they have the teams that can lead our work.
Sure. Thank you.
I think it's also one of the realities, too, is that there's so much theatrical product shrinks and shrinks every year, as we know with the rise of streaming, and even Disney has its own service now, too. So I wonder if that's a producer-level commitment to doing a cinematic level work on serialized television?
Well, for us, it's definitely is not a commitment; it's a reality.
Yeah.
Our world has to look like our world. It's
Absolutely.
not. We're not going to lessen the quality because it's streaming.
Yeah.
You know, that's sort of saying I'm going to have less quality of food in the restaurant because there's children that are eating it. No.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, no, because what you remember what you ate at 8 years old is what you're going back for at 40. So no.
Amen.
We're going to have the best quality that we can actually get with the time that we have allowed. Time is the enemy, so that's gonna take us for a ride.
Sure thing. You in the middle?
There's a lot of really interesting technology on display here. Can you geek out for a moment and tell us about any experiments you're doing with VR, AR, AI embodied avatars?
Lots of interesting technology on display here. Can you take a minute and tell us about any interesting things you're doing with AR, VR, and 7 other things?
We are doing some VR stuff we can't tell you about.
VR stuff. Okay, can you tell us what venue the VR thing is for? Not at all.
But it's coming.
Like, let's say hypothetically I went to a park called like Disney World.
Yeah?
Would I use the VR there or at home?
I'm sorry. The mics are so bad today. What? Is it talking to me?
There on the left? Thank you for your question. Someday you'll
It's coming. I hope. I tell you, it's coming. I love all of it. I want to do everything.
So you've seen it?
What?
You on the left?
So, hi, you mentioned how it's really important to include diversity, and I would just like to emphasize how SIGGRAPH is now encouraging kids to join in on the fun. And
Amen.
Encouraging kids?
Kids, yes.
How old are you?
I'm 12.
12?
Yeah.
God bless you. So tell me.
So, yeah, exactly.
Tell me, is your question, do I support it?
This is a job interview now, so.
Yeah, you're not of age for me to hire you, but I tell you what, you keep on coming to SIGGRAPH, and in about 6 years' time, we can have a conversation.
Yeah. I'll keep it in mind.
Let me.
Listen, I know we're going to be working together. Where's your dad or your mom? They need to, there you go. That's the mom or the dad. I can't see who's there, but there you go. This beautiful child will probably working at Marvel very soon.
Exactly. At very least, like, focus group him. You, sir.
Hello.
Hi, Victoria. Thank you for being here.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I know Disney is a very big business, and you guys are branching off into streaming right now with Disney Plus, and your competition are just waiting to see what happens. And some of us are already predicting a huge success in that area. That said, some of them are already venturing across the globe and trying to find content on different continents. For example, Netflix is working with directors in Africa and trying to tell original stories. And Black Panther was such a huge success out there in Africa because it was really nice how relatable some of the characters were, and how some of the storytellers, the young filmmakers out there in Africa felt like their stories were being told. So the question is, do you think Disney Plus has like a long-term plan or goal to work with directors on the African continent? Thank you.
Listen, we want to work with a lot of people all the time, everywhere. There's only so much time and so much that we can do. Black Panther, by the way, if I could just take a moment of what that meant to us, and I think what that meant to a lot of people, it opened the door for many people to think about certain things that nobody was ever thinking, which is that kind of story can make money. And that's an important thing, because when you have the viability of your fiscal success, then you can have many, many more of those. We continue to shoot in places where the story leads us to, and we will continue to hire the best filmmakers for that particular story. We don't necessarily say, oh, okay, we need to hire a New Zealander, so let's get Taika Waititi. He was, you know what I mean? He was the best New Zealander that we could find, but we didn't hire him because he was from there. We hired him because he had the best pitch for Thor Ragnarok. And we will continue to hire people from everywhere. So as long as people from all over the world come and want to tell our stories, we will try and hire them.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So, good job. I have time for one more right here in the middle.
Hi.
Hi.
All the way from Mexico. ¿Cómo estás?
¿Qué tal? Buenos días.
Buenos días. Well, I wanted to ask you because, as you said, I like the VFX industry, the CGI, and I don't want to go all the way far away from home for my whole life. So I want to hear your comments on VFX and CGI in Latin America.
To comment on what the state of it is in Latin America?
And what you think, where it will go.
Where will we go? The sky's the limit. We can go anywhere. You can't put a limit to where we would go, if that's what you're asking. I mean, I think every place has a chance to become the next ILM or WETA or MPC or DNEG. I think that the more work you do, the better it gets. And I hope you don't get, I mean, if you want to, yes, but I hope that you don't have to leave your home. Where are you from?
From Guadalajara, Mexico.
Guadalajara, qué belleza. I hope you don't have to leave Guadalajara, but there is a lot of work that happens in Mexico, for Netflix, for hopefully Disney Plus soon. So hopefully you don't have to leave. But if you do, this is a beautiful city.
Okay, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, I love you 3,000.
I love you 3,000 people. I want to tell you something before I go. I want to say something. How many of you are from out of town? They're not from LA. Yes, I see you. So from those of you that came from a long, long, long way away, I just want to say thank you, because I know that it probably took a lot of effort and money to get here, and I hope you get out of SIGGRAPH everything that you're getting. And please remember that what you do, whether you do it today or you do it tomorrow, what you do has the capability of changing how we see the world. And one of the most important things that I have taken on in how we approach our films is remembering every day that what we say and the stories we tell and how we tell them can affect people. It could affect them a little bit, or it could affect them a whole lot. We are not alone in that, and we can't do it without you. So whatever it is that you do, and whatever is your little bit that you do, then please know that is helping all of us tell these grand stories that travel around the world that are trying to make this world a little better. So for all the help that you do, I thank you very much on behalf of all of us at Marvel. We couldn't become who we are without the support of people that are committed to our storytelling. And if you don't think that your dreams will come true, I want you to remember one thing today. Mine, a long time ago, were only in my head. Today, they're all over the planet. So you can make it work. You just have to get out there, believe in yourselves, and remember that you are the best you, and your potential will be somebody else's success if you work for them. Please remember, you can make a difference, but you can also follow your dreams. That's the best thing I could tell you from my side of the world. So I thank you for coming today. And come back next year.
Victoria Alonso.
Once again, please welcome Mickey Rose.
Thank you, Victoria, for that inspiring last note. That was pretty awesome. Please join me again in another round of applause for Matt Donnelly and SIGGRAPH 2019 keynote speaker, Victoria Alonso. Thank you for joining us here today. This concludes the session. and go out and experience SIGGRAPH 2019. Have a great week.